America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
If you would please stay standing up here at the front. We have a table to honor those who are not able to be with us today. I'm wearing a Run Ranger Run t-shirt. Run Ranger Run's Gallup Q's annual big fundraising event. It starts in September, early September, runs the month of September, and ends on October the 3rd. And you don't have to run or bike all 565 miles by yourself. That was one of the questions I got earlier. That's like 17 miles a day. That's
Well,
why not?
when I asked the question, I was like, dang, he's up here right now. Then when he gave me the answer, it started sliding.
So we had a veteran about 13 years ago now that did 565 miles all by himself. He left the military. Challenge Run Ranger Run is the gym. There you go. We got a runner that's going to do it. I've tried to do it on my bike, and it's hard. But we used to do it in February, and we'd get bad weather, and then it would be a problem. So I've got other things that are going to prevent me from doing all 565 miles this year. but that's always been a goal of mine, is to knock them all out myself. What we do, though, is you put together teams. So I have a team that is, I think it's Team Stay on Asthma. I keep, every year I have a different name for the team. If I was smart, I'd have the exact same team. It's Stay on Asthma. The Asthma Keepers. Last year was Stay on Asthma Keepers. So if anybody's interested in participating, you get a Run Ranger Run t-shirt, and then we have a webpage that you set up, and you ask people to support you, donate some money to Gallup Q, and that is one of the largest things that funds the work that we do. We also, this year, we're very fortunate. Nicole's not here today. She's out of the state this week. But she landed a Texas Veteran Commission grant that pays for us to do clinical counseling for veterans. So in the past, we've always done it for free for veterans. Now we're getting reimbursed from the state of Texas. And if you ever see the, they ask when you, part of it's from the Texas Lottery, part of it's from, I don't remember what the other things are, but if you ever see a thing that says, check here to donate $2 to the Texas Veteran Commission, if you do that, it goes into a pot, and then organizations can ask for that money. So we're able to provide a lot of therapy to veterans and ease the burden on us, because when you think about doing all of that stuff for free, it after a while becomes pretty difficult to sustain. I especially want to thank Patrick Alcorn for coming today. He mentioned earlier he's the Gallup Q board chair, so he's my boss's boss now. So it's nice to have him here, and Gallup Q is very proud to be one of the sponsors for the Business Beyond the Battlefield Conference. If you are interested, you don't have to want to start a business. If you're interested in learning what entrepreneurship is about, or what some of the franchise opportunities are that are out there, come to the conference, because it's got some great information. Are you going to do a virtual online also this year?
Not this year.
Not this year, okay. We're back, we're away from the COVID era, now we can all get back together, which is awesome. All right, any other outlines, last minute announcements? Come on in.
On the way down.
Got to have a Marine that's, guarding the trail of the convoy.
It's full security.
Full security up there. Jim, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so it's my honor. Are you done eating back there, Zach?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because he's still a grown boy, and I want to make sure he gets all his nutrition. So it's my honor to introduce Zach Ceballos as our speaker today. Everybody knows Zach. If you have met Zach for 30 seconds, you know Zach. He is one of the most personable individuals that I've ever met. And it's really interesting, as we went around at the beginning of this and people are talking about their service, sometimes you get like, we're all over Army District. And it's like, right, you're almost, you feel a little weird talking about your service. But when you get the opportunity to come in front of this group and stand up and talk about your service, it changes your perspective on being able to talk about your service in front of people. It's really important when you think about, Tommy, would you slide that door shut? Thanks. When you think about the smaller number of people, the population in the U.S., the number of veterans as a percent of the population continues to shrink. And in 2010, when Gallup Q started as a nonprofit, it was about 6% of the population. 2000, it was 10% of the population. Now it's somewhere around 3 to 4% of the population. Part of that is population growth. Part of that is fewer people serving in the military, and the World War II veterans, that huge mass of veterans, has mostly left us now. So it's because it's a smaller percent of the population. I think each of us that served, we have a burden to tell the story to the rest of the population because they don't know. There are people out there that don't know veterans, and for us, that's incomprehensible to think that no one would know a veteran, but there are people out there that don't know veterans. So it's on us to make sure that not only do they get to find out about military service, but they get to do it in a positive light, right? So we want to represent the military and the country in a positive way. And Zach does that every day. Zach, as we started, how long have we known each other now? It's been 10 years?
Too long.
It's been at least 10 years. Zach was 10 when I first met him.
Give and take, give and take.
And I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I'm really proud of the educational path that he has embarked on. Yesterday, my Rotary Club did a little social across the street over here, and we had an Air Force veteran that owns a CrossFit gym called Gallant CrossFit. He lives in Grapevine, and the gym is in Bedford, if I remember right. And he is talking about in his role as a personal trainer and a gym owner, he spends more time coaching, mentoring, counseling the veterans that come in to get their physical fitness than he does helping them with the actual physical fitness. And when you think about that aspect of the one-on-one relationship on helping to coach and mentor another military veteran, especially when you come from the perspective of the military, it becomes a more powerful experience. It becomes something that helps the other veteran grow quicker. So I'm going in a great big circle around this, but one of the things that I want to see is more veterans become licensed mental health providers, whether it's clinical social workers, licensed counselors, marriage counselors, whatever that is, because when I engage with veterans in a counseling relationship, I bring an experience to them that most counselors don't have. 3 weeks ago, I did a 3-day weekend brain spotting conference in Denver. Brain spotting it's the latest mental health treatment for post-traumatic stress. It has, in my opinion, it's the next evolution of EMDR, which is the eye movement therapy. EMDR didn't work well for veterans because rapid eye movement and TBI don't go together very well. But this does not require rapid eye movement, but it still accesses the brain memory so you can process the trauma. When I went to this conference, there were about 60 people, licensed counselors attending, 3 guys. And one of those guys, besides me, was a veteran. So there were 2 veterans in the room. But when you look around that room, the population in that room doesn't necessarily reflect the veteran population, right? We need to have especially more men in the counseling room. So if you've ever thought, if you have educational benefits, if you've thought about what you want to do in the future, and I'm talking to people that are going to see this on YouTube as well, think about going into the counseling profession because the veteran world needs it. So without further ado, Zach, Marine Corps veteran, come on up.
Good. You are definitely loud. Oh boy.
Marines in tech.
If I would have done that presentation right, I would have had a crazy train by Ozzy Osbourne playing because I walked up. I failed to that. Now, here, does this work well? Clicker. Well, first off, appreciate all of y'all coming out. Thank you. It's great to have a full house. Kind of great on my day, right? Like it was an accident. Anyways, let's go forward. So, real quick before I start, some of these pictures have been used last year when I gave this presentation last, but I'm going to reiterate some points and update some with some new stuff. This is one of my favorite places I've ever been. Some of y'all know I took an annual road trip. Initially, it was to go pay my respects to my roommate, Lance Corporal O'Connor, who was buried in Douglas, Wyoming. And I kept my promise because he was killed in action June 12, 2011. And June 12, 2021, I was able to pay my respects and visit his grave. So since then, I've expanded on this trip. I decided to go from, well, why just stay in Wyoming when I pushed to other states like Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Montana, and I would think a little bit Nebraska. And along the way, it was great because I was able to keep up with my Marines. I was able to see what they were doing. I was able to spend time with their families and kind of just see who they were a little bit before the Marine Corps, but obviously more so now after the Marine Corps, after all the things that we went through. Wild Horse Island is a mini island that does have wild horses on it, so yeah, there is meaning to the name. And one of my Marines, his name's Steve, he owns a ranch up there, not on this island, but he owns a ranch near, and so usually when we visit him during my road trip, we go to this island, and there's like no service there. It's pretty cut off in the world, but it's just peaceful. It's just that. There's just wind blowing, you can see boats going up and down the lake and whatnot, and I just really love that picture, love that place. So it's my own little happy place, I guess. I will bring up some topics that could kind of be a little touchy to some folks. So if it is, please don't hesitate to take a minute outside or not look or not pay attention. It's okay. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. I have Fran and Michelle for that. Thank you very much. So, okay, so before I got into my beloved Corps, there was a Corps before time. There was the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps. Just like some of the camis that Tommy's wearing back there, I was able to get indoctrinated into the military when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I started the United States Naval Sea Cadets because in reality I had a friend who was moving away, but he told me about this program. I was like, well, it's a great opportunity to kind of stay in touch with you. That was going through 6th grade. And then it was then when I realized that even as 12 years old in a JROTC program, you can still get a gun. And I was like, oh, I can still play around with this and have fun with it and be allowed to use it, right? It was a little MP5, so it was a lot of fun. I mean, what 12-year-old doesn't want an MP5 that they can play around with? Y'all can laugh, okay? So we don't want to. But one of the things was it kind of gave us a very, very brief insight on things like drill, things like military traditions, naval traditions that were happening. And then for some crazy reason, I was like, man, we did this one training called Master at Arms training. And we got to do like police raids, we got to do things like that, got to learn how to tactically go into buildings and whatnot. So like some call it now CQB or CQC. And it was really interesting to me. It was the video game came to life, right? I was that kid who played video games growing up, but then someone handed me some camis like Tommy's wearing. They gave me a little weapon, like an MP5, and they taught me some things. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is what I really want to do when I grow up. And right around the point where I got involved in Sea Cadets, this happened. For me, it's kind of disheartening to see a lot of like the social media things where people make jokes about 9/11 and whatnot. And I know a lot of these folks don't have the experience with 9/11, meaning they weren't alive then or something like that. So it's kind of infuriating and disheartening when you have as many people that passed away in these attacks. That just infuriated me. I remember seeing the second tower live, and I'm going to date myself here. If I date you guys, I'm sorry, it's not offensive, but I was in 6th grade, and I saw the second tower get hit. At that point, we were pulled out of school, and we were all kind of confused. But as time progressed, I got more and more frustrated because then I saw that troops were being deployed overseas. They were going to places like Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places, and they're pretty hot areas of the world. They weren't the nicest locations to go to. And then, even though these troops that were going overseas, they were being killed or they were dying by some of the means, and it was just really infuriating to me. And so at that point, I knew that I was going to join something. I knew I was going to go in the military in some capacity. But I wasn't sure which branch, and I had kind of a joke, and I was in my Sea Cadet program, and I was like, I really wish I could do Army infantry stuff, blow stuff up, shoot guns, fight bad guys, but almost do it in like a Navy way, like I could say aye aye and do things like that. And I wish there was like a hybrid branch basically. And it was about a year and a half when my friends were like, well, is he being serious? Does he not know? And then all of a sudden somebody told me about my upcoming beloved United States Marine Corps. So every single Marine in here, whether officer or enlisted, has been involved in the picture on the right. Those are the yellow footprints. They are infamous. They are your very first day of Marine Corps career. Whether you are going for 4 years or whether you're going in for 30 years. That is day number 1. So every Marine here can see it in their eyes already, whether they're looking at me or not right now. They remember this day. And those are the infamous yellow footprints that are on the decks of Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Paris Island, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. We just say MCRD or Paris Island. That right there will tell you which coast you're from. And, well, real Marines will be on the West Coast. So. So I did the typical thing. Started on, don't tear me up. Did the typical thing right out of boot camp. What do? Mom and dad want to see the blues. So you do it, and you pose in front of a picture of the 80s, or a picture of your mom and your aunt in the 80s, and you get ridiculed for the rest of your life for that. So maybe even the 70s, based off those clothes. I don't know. Maybe y'all can help me out. Yeah, so 2008, I graduated high school, and then I enlisted in April of I enlisted in 2008 as an 0311 rifleman, and I was hell-bent on being a rifleman. I saw the things out, like on mass media, things that were happening in country, and I wanted to be physically involved. I didn't want to be a support element. I didn't want to drive trucks. I didn't want to be an avionics technician. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to fight. And for me, that's kind of that's the mentality you have to be a Marine to some extent. And of course, I was 17, 18 years old, just, we're all kind of young, dumb, and violent, or younger. And growing up, though, one of the biggest things I will say is I watched a lot of war movies with my dad growing up. Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, things like that. But the real thing that I held on to there was the relationships that were forged in combat or wartime experience, and the fact that these relationships existed well beyond the battlefield. And I'm the only male in my family, so I have no brothers, no male cousins, no uncles by blood, no grandpas, obviously not a son. So I felt compelled to join the Marine Corps. I heard these experiences, I watched these movies, I read some books growing up, believe it or not. And I realized that this is the brotherhood that I wanted, and I realized that the Corps could give me brothers, hopefully. So after graduating boot camp in November of 2008, I went to SOI. I was assigned to School of Infantry's Infantry Training Battalion, Alpha Company. With that being said, that was like the Alpha Company is well, we're the Alpha males, we're going to be the best. So anything that Alpha Company want to do is like we're going to be running faster than everybody, we're going to be carrying more gear than everybody, we're going to do more, better, stronger, faster, everything. And sometimes I'm lazy, and so I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do that, but I did anyways. You learn a ton of skills there. Now I think the school now went from about 13 weeks long now to about 24 weeks long for infantry rifleman training. Why, I'm not too sure, but it's kind of interesting to hear that because of all the experience from the GWAT campaign is now being instilled in these younger Marines that are graduating from School of Infantry. So all the things that I experienced and the guys and girls that came before me, all the things, all the education, the knowledge, all of those are now being instilled in this younger generation of the Marine Corps. And that's something to kind of pride ourselves on because Marines were very traditional. We are proud of our history. We talk about Chapultepec, we talk about Battle of Tripoli for a reason, and now the battles that we experienced in the entire GWAT campaign are being instilled in this next generation. So that means that we did our job right, and I'm very proud to be part of that lineage. So first Thanksgiving missed, it's nothing crazy here. I'm sure we've all experienced these kind of moments, whether you're an officer enlisted or whatever. This was my first experience with the saw, and somebody said, yeah, it's pretty sweet looking, and it just stuck with me. So that was my bread and butter after a while when I got to my unit, 1-5, but I'll get there. So nothing crazy here, just a couple of boot pictures. Going forward, I was assigned to 1st Battalion, 5th Marines Alpha Company, or just 1-5. We're Marines, we don't do any crazy units. We're the 105th of the 503rd of the Gold Squadron with the 14th Platoon of the 8th Company. Yeah. Talking to you, Army. So, I was part of the first boot drop, which means I was the first crop of guys who left training and was assigned to this unit right after they got back from combat deployment. And some of you may know that's not the most ideal time to be assigned to a brand new unit when you're a young guy. You get a lot of get strong. You learn to move fast. You learn a lot of team building exercises. But I was proud because 5th Marines is one of the oldest regiments in the entire United States Marine Corps, along with 6th Marines. And I was very, very, very blessed, looking back on it now, to be assigned to this unit. Very prestigious, very honorable unit. They have experiences in the campaigns from, oh gosh, just since 1775 up until present day. The unit was really activated early in the 1900s and then had a pretty big influence in the Spanish-American War all the way up again until GWAT. So I was very, very proud to be part of this story and be part of this unit. And I don't care what you say, sir. 1 mile is the best. So, y'all will be jamming a little while, I'm sure. Let's go forward. Lots of training. So again, pictures. I was tired. I was miserable. Again, I was lazy. I was like, why do we have to wake up so early? Why are we not sleeping as much? Why are we moving with all this heavy gear in our packs and our backs and stuff? So that night, I was wanting to threaten somebody, but it was just a joke apparently. So going forward again. Our unit deployed to Sangin, Afghanistan in 2011. So if none of y'all have been here or seen this place, then well, you're not missing out on much. Just it's pretty hot over there, really. But here's some of the local things that we did. Obviously, we have some gentlemen in the top picture, kind of just showing the natural way of life over there. How a lot of them will have these little 125cc dirt bikes, these little tiny KEI trucks. And a lot of hatchbacks. You can see there's 3 in the that picture right there. The picture in the bottom middle is what we call a patrol-based Jamil. That was our first PD that we went to. And you can see that on the right-hand side there's a white flag, and that was in front of the entrance, what we call the VCP, the vehicle checkpoint. And it's a white flag for a reason. And there's another one in the center picture. It looks a little bit weird now, but the white flag indicates that was Taliban property, meaning that was a Taliban stronghold at some point. And so just like being a good Texan, we have the come and take it flag, right, with the star and the cannon. Well, very similar to that flag right there. That was the Taliban's flag. That was their property. They owned that flag. They owned that base. But we took it, and so then we left the flag out, and we said basically our challenge to the Taliban was, if you want it back, come and take it. And they tried several times, and well, I'm still here, they're not. And so we did our jobs very well over there. I'm very proud of that. So here are some pictures going between posts, patrolling, and other moments of our deployment. I did not plant this plant. It just grows abundantly over there, so you can vouch for me. I think Ivan you might have had a picture of it like that too. Like that. But real quick, I'm going to give you a quick orientation here. So the top left picture you see is my squad. So that was 1st Lieutenant 5th Marine South Company 3rd Platoon, 1st Squad. So those guys are the ones that I did everything with. We trained together, we fought together, we got shot at together, we dealt with IEDs together, we did dealt with bad guys, we did detainee work together. We're kind of crazy to think about all the things we do, we reflect back. But I did everything with those guys and experienced just about everything with us. So for firefights, explosions going off, casualties, doing medevacs, casevacs, things of that nature. So these guys are very, very deeply embedded in my heart, and I'm very blessed to be connected with them to this day. The picture in the bottom, I'm probably closest with those 2 right there out of the entire squad for a while. That's Tate and Kaya. This is my truck, and we were always the 3rd vehicle in what we call mounted patrol. So we were driving in trucks and you're just going around finding bad guys. We always said Vic 3 for life because we were always the 3rd vehicle in the convoy. So the 1st vehicle was a mine or the NAMRAP, 2nd was a MAP-B or an NRAP, and us was 3rd in a MAP-B. That was my truck, and it worked really well. I knew how to drive it really well. And we did competitions in the battalion. I was like number 4. So it's kind of interesting to do that, or to have that little badge of honor. But Tate, the guy on the left-hand side right here, he's one of the gentlemen that I get to see on my road trip. He lives in Colorado, so I get to spend time with him, get to catch up with him, and I don't have to pay for a hotel. So that's always really good to have. Picture on the right, we had a new gunny. We had a gunny who's in the Army at the SFC, so our 1st class, so E7 for those who don't know. And that guy is, he's supposed to be making sure that we have all of our logistics, right? Making sure that we have food, making sure we have water, gasoline from JPA, making sure that we have the tools and necessities to get our job done. Well, unfortunately, we had a pretty bad gunny, and he messed up a lot. And we were able to get a second gunnery sergeant to replace him. And for the Marines out there, he came straight from the drill field. And what that means, basically, he was a drill instructor, and then he was immediately sent to Afghanistan with us. And so he was kind of by the book. This is what you're going to do every single day. And we're like, that's garrison stuff, not field stuff. And he learned eventually that he had to learn how to bend. But at the same time, because he bent, then we matched that. And with that being said, he took care of us very, very well. So why I say that is because in the middle of the summer, Afghanistan was 135 degrees out for a calm day. All of a sudden, a truck shows up, and you have frozen chicken. It's for somebody to pull that off, they pull some strings. And so if you've ever been down the range, I'm sure you can kind of understand how good that was. So what we did the grunt thing. We got some HESCO. If you don't know what HESCO is, it's a collapsible barrier they can fill with rocks, dirt, debris to build barricades, or to stack up on each other to create small temporary buildings. What we did was we got a cot, cut the material off the HESCO. We had some pallet wood, boom. You got yourself a campfire, you got yourself some warm chicken that we probably all now have chemicals and carcinogens embedded in us from that treated wood. But I'll tell you what, it was better than eating another UGR or another MRE.
At 135 degrees, why do you need the fire?
Fun fact, I didn't need a lighter to start that fire. It's magnifying glass. Just kidding. But that was a pretty big treat to have. And then the top picture, that's my one cool picture of my entire deployment. There's a little mark on my mag pouch where I got an RPG came and it hit right in front of me. Smacked the part of the strap was smacking my lip, and then I bled a little bit on my mag pouch, and I was like, that's pretty cool, you know. So that's all I can say about that. But that was a real cool picture. As you can see, I have a 240 behind me with a 117 radio. That's green box. I hear you, man. All right. So after all that, I will say I started feeling a lot of weird things in my affairs when I got back. I didn't really cover it yet. I think I will cover it a little bit more in my presentation. But our units lost 17 Marines killed in action, and we had 191 wounded in action. Hey Tom, there's my 11. Hey, oh, you just walked around. So 17 of my Marines were killed in action. There were two that stuck out with me. One was my saw gunner, Joe Jackson. One was my best friend and roommate. Amy's here, buddy. With the fresh air. But we lost 17 Marines, had 191 wounded, and the typical line unit of infantrymen is about 550 Marines, roughly. And it's a whole battalion. And so we have 208 lost out of 550. I'm not the greatest at math, I'm a Marine. So that tells me that we almost had a 50% loss rate in one deployment, which is a pretty substantial loss. But with all that happening, these are the things that started impacting my life. Post-traumatic stress set in. There was one point where I was in the barracks room, and my friends, they said, hey, we're going to chat, you want to come with us? I was like, no, I'm just going to sit here for a second. I'm kind of just like thinking about some stuff. They said, great. And I swear that about 5 minutes later, they came back and they said, hey, you all right? And I was like, yeah. I was like, why? We've been gone. I'm like, we've been gone for almost 3 hours. And I realized that I was incredibly depressed. Post-traumatic stress was really affecting me. I had the privilege of putting my roommate in a bag, in a body bag, and putting him on a helicopter after he was killed in action. His name was Sean O'Connor, and so that really got to me. With that being said, there are certain events that happen over there that maybe some of you can understand, where I was not myself, and I became much more violent, much more aggressive, and that then contributed to moral injury. Carl's spoken about that before with some other individuals, another guy named Tim Spalla out of Colorado, and the effects of moral injury, going against your own principles, your own values, who you are at your core, and you violated it. And that has a profound effect on a lot of individuals, including veterans. As you can follow along, of course, I had hate towards myself. I just didn't care for who I was. My little caption kind of captured it clearly. I was embarrassed to be a Marine and ashamed to be an infantryman. And then that's when I started using pharmaceutical drugs and alcohol. So what do? We cope, right? Everyone has coping mechanisms. Something happens, well, let me try to fix the problem. That's kind of the Reed mentality, right? There's something that we need to do about this, get it done. And to get by, I did this. Jack and Bud Light were my go-tos. The irritability, the anger, all that stuff, that was incredible. I have a lot of veterans and friends, and family members, and a daughter who could vouch for that, unfortunately. But I tried to mask all this, and it led to 3 suicide attempts, 2 on a motorcycle, and then one kind of attempted to jump off of a bridge. And the overdose involved hydrocodone and Vicodin, and that was in North Carolina. I overdosed intentionally one time, and another time was unintentional. I was given this medicine because around 2010 to 2013 or so, the active duty side was you got a small surgery, like here's 120 days worth of hydrocodone, Vicodin, something like that. And these other 2 guys that had like they had some cartilage removed off like an ankle bone or something like that, really minor. Like I don't even think they were sedated, they were just like numbed in that area or something. But they were given 120 days worth of Vicodin and Percocet. Hydrocodone and Vicodin. And with that being said, they saw that my life was quickly falling apart. I was going into a divorce, wife left, she took a daughter with her, I was kind of on my own, and then I didn't have a job. So they said, well, maybe the little pick-me-up that you need is just a little serotonin boost, a little dopamine boost, and that was pharmaceuticals. Little did I know that I would OD a little while later. And this motorcycle right here is mine, a little bit R6. I used to race on her on the side of the Marine Corps. I used to get in trouble too, a little bit. But this was the Marine Corps way. That was my motorcycle I attempted suicide on. First time was going into the back of a semi-truck going a little over 140 miles an hour. For no reason, that truck just moved out of the way. There's no way he could have seen me. There was no vehicle in front of him. There was no helicopter above him. I don't even believe he used a turn signal. All I remember was close my eyes, I was going dead straight, and all of a sudden I was like, why haven't I hit yet, or am I already dead? And then I look over and he's in the right lane. I'm like, oh, okay, this sucks. So I struggled for a while, as a lot of us do, and I didn't know what to do. So my coping mechanisms were basically drugs and alcohol. Right after this, again, I mentioned it already. My daughter was born. Right after that, we had a divorce, and I went into about 15 months of homelessness, and that's when I started my relationship with this guy in front of us. Yeah, there's that. The biggest one I'll say here that stuck out with me was the loss of purpose, because when in the military, for example, in the Marine Corps, we have something called the mission of Marine Corps Rifle Squad. It's located close with destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver and repel the enemy assault by fire and post combat. That's something ingrained in me, and I believe that when I was in the infantry, that was my purpose, is to fight bad guys, was to do the Marine Corps stuff. But what happens? It was a very textbook case. I associated my identity with my purpose with my job in the Marine Corps. But then eventually what happens? To everybody here in the military, you leave, you exit the Marine Corps, the military says, bye, thanks for your service, here's your paperwork, see you later. Whether you did a year or 30 years. For me, the biggest thing was loss of purpose. I didn't know what to do at that point. But that little creature right there, who would hate me if she was here and I showed her these pictures. She was my little inspiration. She told me, looking at her eyes when she was a kiddo, little baby, she was the one that told me to keep going and not quit. Don't drop your pack in the report. That's what we said. And right after, this is right when I left North Carolina, got home to Texas at my parents' house. My mom flew to North Carolina, picked up my daughter, flew back, and this is about 3 days later whenever I got home from driving. And I don't know what I wrote there. Some stuff, I guess, whatever. My daughter was a huge component to where I am now in life. But then, here are these 2 other organizations and entities that came up. Obviously, we know down a few, and a few of y'all have been blessed to know some of my brothers, that these dirty motorcycle riders that belong to Devil Dogs Motorcycle Club. And life got a lot better after that. I started to find hope, started getting traction, things started becoming much more tangible for me, and I started to grow. I started to accept situations. I started to get plugged in with others who were able to understand where I was coming from and who had their own I'm not one to say demons and whatnot, but who had their own experiences. And they were there to support me. So people, men and women who had difficult transitions out of the military, they could relate to me. So guys like Carl could relate to me. And I got really good at telling my story, but eventually I was just like, I got so good at telling my story about things I experienced in Afghanistan after that, my intent, and it was very, very astute, my intent was to make somebody cry. Because I want you to hurt because I hurt. And I was very good at it. I could put on my soapbox and make somebody cry. And then met Carl in 2014. Him and his wife took me out to a nice dinner, and I was like, okay, now it's your turn. I think his wife Sarah was she got a little choked up, but then I told Carl I think took like a big piece of his meat or something in her salad, and he's like, okay. And I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, you kidding me? The one time I don't even. All right, so at that point I knew something was different about this guy. But Gallup initially, when I connected with Gallup, he was focused on helping veterans transition out of the military and facilitating the smooth and successful transition into lives of hope and purpose. And that was exactly what I need, because whenever we were exiting the Marine Corps, a lot of us at the same time were told basically, hey, like, whatever your problems are right now, we'll deal with them later. And we really believe in that. And then unfortunately, something happens, you either I don't know what the other branches are, but in the Marine Corps, you EAS, which means you leave, end of active service. I think ETS is in the Army, EOS is I think all branches of end of service collectively. And I was told to deal with it later, and then I never got the chance to deal with it. So that's what happened with all these other experiences of self-medicating, suicide attempts, and overdoses, and whatnot. The Devil Dogs have really allowed me to maintain who I am to myself. I don't think many of y'all have ever hung out with me when I'm with my club, but it's just like it can be me 100%. And I really, really love it. And I love riding motorcycles. So these two organizations are incredibly, incredibly valuable to me. And it seems that Gallant Few has been pretty valuable to everybody else here in this room. And I'm very, very blessed to be part of that. So Carl, thanks for starting this organization a little while. Now what? Now you got purpose, right? My purpose is to serve. I found that out with Carl and Gallant Few. I discovered that through a very painful process, but it was no pressure, no diamonds, right? That's what our executive director likes to say, Tony May, no pressure, no diamonds. My purpose was to serve, and I found out what that meant. It wasn't meaning to be to wait on hand and foot for somebody like a butler or whatnot, but it was to serve my fellow man and woman. I believe that that's what God put me on to serve. I served the Corps, served the country, now it's time to serve my fellow man and woman. And I've been very blessed and fortunate that God let me choose the profession, and that is veterans. And I love working with veterans. I am one of them. This is my community. And now I am working towards a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, from North Texas, kind of following in Carl's footsteps. But with that being said, I'm the first college graduate or college student in my entire family. And with my experiences, I'm kind of proud of myself for doing that. And now that I have my daughter with full custody, it's kind of thinking like, well, hey, if I did it, raising you, working a full-time job, then you can make it happen as well. And UNT has been a great, great institution so far. And I love it up there. It's kind of weird being that old guy on campus. I still feel like I'm 18 years old, but I look around and I'm like, oh, sure it's LA, right? But I'm gonna party one time, keep going here. So here's one of the things that we do at Gallant Few this summer. This is Pikes Colorado and Carl should not be in the same sentence. Carl led this Colorado retreat up there, and we already have some pictures. We can go forward. Here's some of the pictures of my road trip recently. Again, like I said, I kept my promise. Joe Michael Jackson, my saw gunner, was killed in action. Sean O'Connor, my roommate, killed in action. And then Samuel Henderson with his dad on the right hand side. Sam, unfortunately, took his life earlier this year. He was one of the guys in the platoon. I'll get to him more in a minute. But overall, this presentation is dedicated to my boys that I serve with and those who can come home with us. All 17 Marines still in action. But more so, this happens a lot in my head. I see the sunset in my mind. I'm behind a Mark 19 again. I'm behind a 240. I'm behind a 50 cal. I'm behind a whole cruiser weapon. A lot of times that never leaves you. And I think for those of us who have been downrange in the country, I think we can all kind of relate to this a little bit. The top left picture it shows those that were killed in action and suicides and accidental deaths from that unit. The top right picture is a picture of Samuel Henderson. His, gosh, I don't know what it's called. The little brochure you get at a funeral. Obituary, yeah, thank you. We lost him. Sam was Hendo, that's what we called him. Hendo was a titan of man. He was a huge guy. He was about 6'4" or so, but he was his country fed. My thigh was like his forearm. Just a huge dude with a huge heart. He was a very good looking guy too. He unfortunately didn't pass away this year, and it was something that was earth shattering to us. It's been 14 years since we've been home, and we're still dealing with these issues. But we're still coming home with this weight in our baggage, or excuse me, this weight in our bags, and it affects us to this day. And to lose Sam, to lose Hendo, was a huge push and a huge impact to all of us. But I try to find the silver lining as many ways as I possibly can in whatever situation I'm in, right? Carl has a way of saying you have the ability to choose a response to the situation. Well, I chose to look at it in a different light. Because of Hendo, because of the man that he was, the size of his heart, the size of his physical presence, he brought my platoon back together. The bottom right picture is the boys that I served with in Afghanistan, the ones that we dealt with bullets coming over our heads, with indirect fire coming into our patrol base, wounding us, and these guys went through hell and back with. And because of them, I'm here, I'm a better man. And it's kind of funny to see what everybody looks like outside the military after their personalities come out too. And I get a little choked up, so I don't want to look too much at it. But because of these boys, I'm the man I am today. And back to my first point of wanting to join the Marine Corps because I had brothers, or because I wanted to have brothers. Now I have more than I know what to do with. And so God's got a funny way of working with things, and he's like, hey, here you go, I'm going to overwhelm you now. So, but at the same time, I have a brother in almost every single state. I have a place to go spend the night in every single state. These relationships are exactly what is being replicated from World War II. These stories I hear about men going off to war, coming back home, and having these relationships together for the rest of their lives. I didn't see it in a movie, but I'm very blessed to experience it myself, and I'm very thankful for that. So because of Hendo, though, my platoon came back together, my family came back together. I'm very grateful for that. This is the sunset in Afghanistan. This is kind of what I see, that one picture you saw behind a 50 cal. This is what I see in my head still a lot of times. I'm sure, again, a lot of us have been downrange, have our own moments and experiences with this. Well, but this is mine from one of our posts in Captain Critic. You can't end a story without a bang, right? Pun intended. Dad joke. So this guy, real fast before it happened, this guy was a Taliban associate. He was collecting materials, and he was helping helping Taliban assemble IEDs to kill or wound us. That's me.
Shake it down.
If you pay attention, there are 2 explosions.
Yeah, lose my hand. Great idea.
This is why I can't hear too well nowadays.
You're fucking awesome. Get 10!
Well, everybody, my name is Ceballos. Thanks for listening to my story. Appreciate it.
We have questions for Zach.
So did you have your suicide attempts while you were still on active duty?
Yes. I EAS the end of August 2012. I took terminal in July, and my attempts were in May and June. First time going to the back of a semi-truck, second time going into a cement pillar, third time was going into oncoming traffic. I don't share that lightly, but it's important for others to know now, and I get that.
So I guess, did you not know that there was, this is like kind of personal, but it comes from medical. Do you not in your head know that I should seek help? Did you feel that nobody would really understand?
I was only instructed to seek help because my third attempt, I got pulled over, and when I went to court, the judge told me to get help through Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. But I felt that my biggest thing was what you said at the end was, I felt that I was the only one, and no one would understand what I've been through. And then now that I'm here at this point in my life, I'm like, oh, that's pretty common throughout the entire population of, at least the combat veteran side. That community, let alone then it overflows into other communities within the military as well. And then it's not even just military, then it's just the general community. So I accepted that notion that I wasn't the only one, and I decided, well, now we gotta be better.
And I ask that from a medical point of view because it's disappointing to me that military and medical personnel don't recognize that. And I work the emergency room, work with a lot of cadets that were just coming into the military and would overdose on cold medicine, Tylenol, and we treated them in the ER. And I don't believe at the time that there was any follow-up by the medical personnel. We left that with their squad. Disappointing.
Yeah, it can be, and that's a big thing where I'd like to get into the DoD, get involved, and I kind of briefly mentioned this with Carl. This is more like a 10, 15 year long objective, but to get into DoD to implement what I call a decompression program, because exactly what you said. Whenever we came home, again, it was like, okay, now that we're home, let's me back up. In country, when we lost Marines, they were killed. Natural emotions and feelings are invoked from that experience. And with that being said, we were told, hey, kind of suck it up, deal with it later. And then, okay, great, now we'll deal with it when we get back home. Okay, well, fast forward 4 or 5 months. Now that we're home, now it's time to deal with it. It's like, hey, sorry, no, we got a whole new workup to do. You don't get to do that. When we get back from this next deployment, then you can deal with it. And then eventually at some time in that, you get discharged. You exit the military, and it's like, uh-oh, like I never had a chance to deal with this, never got the chance to talk to somebody. And then there comes, especially with certain titles, whether you're a Ranger or SF, MARSOC, Recon, Scout Sniper, or Marine, PJ, anything like that. When there comes a certain title, I think a lot of times individuals associate themselves with that, and they think, well, because I hold this title, I shouldn't be getting help because I don't want to show weakness, and that means I'm not good enough, kind of thing. And then things start to happen.
Well, I think with everybody in the military, the mission is always a priority, not yourself.
Very much so, very much so. That's why we were told to deal with it. We had a job to do. We weren't there to talk about our feelings and whatnot. And we all had to go there and understand that. Not only to understand that we may not come back home, but a very young man, my mindset was to not want to come home because that was considered a beautiful death, a glorious death. And that's kind of what was instilled in us and encouraged by some of our more senior personnel that were with our unit. And that was just a way of life for us then. And for some that made that sacrifice, we're like, oh, is this a glorious death? Is this a beautiful death we want? But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times in the military, you don't get that help. But it's where organizations and people like Carl and Gallup exist. So.
Yeah, mental health is still casually kicked around, and ironic, I filled out my TSA renewal yesterday for airplane travel, and 5 questions in the renewal were about your mental health. And it was very much like in the military. You said yes to anything in mental health, your career was done. You were not advancing ever again. And when I filled that out yesterday, I went straight back to being in the military. It was really curious that was the entire questionnaire, was mental health. And you immediately go to guards, you immediately put up your shields again. And that's something casual. That's just a TSA renewal, $85 to be able to not have to take off your damn shoes. And they go right back to that government approach that mental health is failing. it was really, really curious, so I appreciate what you said. You mentioned the word suicide, and military guys, gals are generally pretty blunt. Read an article, read an obituary last month, best obituary ever read, and they said that the suicide, they didn't reference suicide, they referenced the loss of their battle with mental health. And I thought it was the most eloquent write-up I had ever seen, because most of the time, if it was suicide, nobody ever says what it was. It's just brushed under the carpet. So, just want to reference it, and God bless you and your brothers, man.
Appreciate it, thanks.
I got one for you, Zach. So after the substance abuse, right, when you got off of all that, I imagine most vets, work with, that's coping mechanism. So once you realize, hey, using this to cope and you stop doing it, well, typically now you've got to face those feelings and demons that you had been trying to avoid or ignore, right? So how did, what did you find worked best for you as you were transitioning through, I guess, that period of, okay, now I've got to deal with this?
I'm quickly learning about something called the Adlerian theory. Carl will give you more information on this afterwards. But the Adlerian theory really focuses on the future. Zach tends to talk about. So long story short, Alfred Adler and Sigmund Freud worked together. Freud was all about the past. Adler was about the person's future. And with that also, he was also very adamant about social connectedness. And that means community groups. Harvard's conducting a study still that's going on for I think 80 years now. And they asked, it's only for men, I believe, and they asked what's the key to happiness. And these men unanimously across the board have said that their lives are happy because they have healthy and good relationships. And I believe that is what pulled me out of the dark, was knowing that my guys are going through a lot of the same stuff. Some of them were going through worse. But once I started understanding that I wasn't the only one, I just told them over here, but that I wasn't the only one feeling like this, I knew that, okay, well, there's hope. There is that light at the end of the tunnel. It'll take me a while to get there, but shit, I just did all this stuff in root work. I can do this for sure. So I think community is the best answer. But my time's up. Carl's gonna take the mic. Thanks for listening.
You already have a bunch of these. You have to give this to somebody else today.
Another one.
Nice job there. We're a little over on time, but I wanted to just say a couple of things real quick, following up on what Zach said. Because the mental health and the military thing, you think that, Zach, when did you get out?
Well,
So 2012, right? So that can't be the same now, right? It can't still be going on. The reality is it's still going on, right? The exact same. I spoke yesterday for an hour with a veteran that developed asthma while he was on active duty from exposure to smoke and explosives while he was deployed. Because of the asthma, he couldn't keep up on the runs. Now, the team doesn't look at him as somebody who got wounded in combat, they look at him as somebody who now can't hang, right? Not good enough. And they start treating him like he's not good enough. And over the course of time, then he ends up getting medically discharged. But he gets medically discharged with this embedded belief that I'm not good enough. And so when he gets out, he carries this I'm not good enough into life. And for years, he has told himself, I'm not good enough. And when I talked to him, he said, how do you feel joy again? And you think, how do you feel joy again? This guy is talking about. And one of the questions he asked me was, how do I deal with all the failures that I've had since I left? And I told him, this is going to sound pretty brutal, but I don't care what happened yesterday or last week or last year or last month. I don't care. Anything that's happened in the past, kind of back to what Zach said about the difference between the past and the future. What I care about is what are you going to do next, right? What's your decision to make yourself better tomorrow than you are today? And he has not lived that for years. And so making that change is incredibly difficult. You know, the body in motion tends to stay in motion, but a body at rest tends to stay at rest. And he's been at rest for a while. So it's a challenge to get them moving again. But those kind of people over time, I don't have joy, I'm no good, why should I live? And that's one of the reasons why I think the problem persists. The other piece to that is the VA is very quick to throw medication. I've got a naval sport special warfare guy that I'm working with that I said, give me a list of the medication you're taking. And he listed off 7 different medications. And I plugged them into Google AI and I asked Gemini, tell me about the risks and interactions of these. And what came back, have a safe flight, Zach. What came back was, this is an incredibly toxic and dangerous combination of drugs that need to be very carefully managed. And so I asked him, so who's your primary care provider that manages all the medications? He says, I don't have one. So he goes to one, they give him something, he goes to another, they give him something, he goes to another, they give him something. But nobody is looking at all of these things and saying, wait a minute, let's hold on a second. So I sent him the whole thing and I told him, you gotta go in tomorrow, you gotta go find one of your doctors and you gotta demand a primary care person that is able to balance all of the medication you're taking. So I mean, it's very messed up deal. So thank you all for being here. I deeply appreciate y'all. Next time, come bring somebody else. And does anybody else have anything for the good of the group? They want to say anything? Anybody? All right, thanks for being here. Bye-bye.